Hi, my name's Daniel Bowe. I'm the head of the English program at Gonfalon Bilingual School, KPBS, here in Concan. And this morning we had a parent come in and ask us about our blended learning program, blended reading program that we've recently implemented. He asked some very intelligent questions, so I thought I would answer those questions in a more formal format for all of our parents. So this is an overview of our extensive reading program, which is part of the blended reading program that we're using. The Extensive Reading Foundation is a good place to get information about this, so if you do a search for that, you can find it on Google and read to your heart's content. First of all, we want to talk about the way reading normally happens in classrooms and outside of classrooms and places like that. So we have to look at the level of the student and how well the student reads. If over here under reading pain, if the reading is too difficult, then the student doesn't really understand, is spend a lot of time and effort to get low comprehension, doesn't have any fun doing it, is demotivated, and sadly a lot of bilingual schools, in order to impress their membership, spend a lot of time over here, and there's really no language development that happens at that point, and we have long-term negative effects on the children and their interest in English. Secondly, here we have intensive reading. Intensive reading is what you normally think of when you think of authentic reading of authentic material inside a classroom. We'll have a book or something like that, and the teacher will go through a few pages a day and work on vocabulary and work on grammar and those kinds of things. So there is a certain amount of improvement that happens there, as long as the level is good for the student, and that's a very important part of that process is selecting the correct level for the student and for the class. Over here to the right we have extensive reading. Extensive reading is easier than intensive reading. It's right at about the level of the student, not pushing the student very hard. We'll talk about what that means a little bit later. The student can read it quickly, get through the book fast. We're talking about a chapter a day without a lot of time spent. Optimally, there's no dictionary use at all. The student enjoys it. It's a book that the student chooses. Extensive reading let the student choose the book that they want. That's an important part of the program. And we see a lot of fluency and improvement that comes from comprehensible input, things like understanding collocations and word choice, situational use, those kinds of things. So our speed reading practice, we choose something that is quite low for the student, and the student just practices fluency, and oftentimes pronunciation work will happen here, but we don't spend a lot of time here. So in class, a lot of our class time is intensive reading, and out of class time in our blended learning program, we do a little bit of listening practice for the intensive reading, but mostly we focus on extensive reading for our students there. So you can see this is called the vicious circle of the weak reader, and this is what happens when we put students in material that is much too difficult for them. They don't understand, they read slowly, they don't enjoy reading, so they don't read much, then they don't read much, so they progress slowly, so they're constantly behind. And this happens both in native-speaking countries, native-speaking reading classes, happens in Thai classrooms, and in second language classrooms. But the better choice is reading books that are at the appropriate level for the students, so they understand. They get more reading practice, so they read faster, they read better, they enjoy what they're doing, so they read more, so they understand more, so they get good readers. Read more. People who read more are better readers. Our five-finger rule is when we open a page, how many new words are there on the page? Because when we hit about 98%, how about this, 2% new words on a page, comprehension starts falling off precipitously. So you can see here, 1 to 2 new words on a page. It's too easy. This is really fluency practice. The student may find the topic interesting, and that's fine, but it doesn't create new language growth. For 2 to 3 words, 2 to 3 words is a good level for the student. It builds enough vocabulary development, and it generally means that the grammar is at a level that is difficult enough for the student. 4 words recommended as a challenge level. If the student finds the topic really interesting, then it can be useful for them, but it's going to be a little bit of a slog, and more than 5 means they're not going to understand much. It's not going to have significant results for them. So we're constantly looking at the level of the student and re-leveling the students for our blended reading program. Here's kind of another rehashing of the same idea. So whether we're in independent reading area, 95 to 100%. For me, I'd rather see 98 to 100% vocabulary comprehension. Instructional level use is in that 90% plus range. That means that with a little bit of work, some vocabulary work and some grammar work, we can get good decent 98% comprehension out of it. And below that, it's really it's a pain point. So the important thing about the independent reading part is there's no dictionary use, and the kids can generally guess meaning of new words through context. Most of the beginner readers have a very one-to-one sentence to picture focus. So comprehensible input is how you drive language acquisition and how students get better. And in order to have comprehensible input and have students progress, we need to be in this green area. So over time, as we are beginning a student, our students' language level is quite low. We start with low difficulty, and for some of our second graders who are reading pre-K kind of books, they're not especially developmentally appropriate, but they are authentic, and they do present great amounts of vocabulary for them. So that we follow up through over time through this green area. If we stay in the green area, we create a lot of growth in the students. Comprehension-wise, we'll talk about production in a different video. Writing and speaking need to focus in other areas. If we end up down here in this yellow area, again, that's the speed reading kind of area that we were looking at earlier, where it's easy for the students, but doesn't create any real growth. They can get some fluency, and especially if we're doing pronunciation practice, we'll stay there. So we try to stay between these this top and bottom line. If we veer off into this red area, our students aren't going to really progress, and then over time they're going to get left behind. So we need to make sure we stay here. And towards the top of this green area is where we want our intensive reading program to be, in that 90 to 95% area. And at the bottom here is that 95 to 98% comprehension area. So that's where we want to be. But the important thing to know is, for extensive reading program, our students still won't understand 100% even after they finish the book, and that's okay. So I want to thank you for taking your time and listening to the description of how we're working through blended learning, and especially extensive and intensive reading programs in Gontrapapat Bilingual School in Konkan. If you have a chance, come visit us. Take a look.